Yes, welcome to the Mate Ready podcast. I'm your host, or one of your hosts, Daniel Tindall, and I'm here with Adam Glover. How you doing, dude?
I am good, mate. I am. It's good to be back doing the podcast, mate. It's been a little while.
It has. We've had a little break while we've been working hard, getting out the Mate Ready 40 program, um, which is cool.
Yeah, that was a it was a it's a lot of work, but I for one, I'm really proud and happy with the work we put in to make that what it is and what we brought to market. So I think the men of the world. I mean, I think everybody could every man could utilize it effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're
And
interested in our flagship 40-day program, drop us a message, get in touch, jump on our website, Instagram, and we'll send it over. But today we've got a bit of a different episode. We've been through the pillars. We've been through what Make Ready is about, our ethos, and today we're gonna unpack a little deeper on who we are, and in particular, today we're focusing reluctantly on me. So I'll hand it over to Adam. Really,
yeah, so we thought there would be a really because we've spoken quite a bit about the different things we believe and different areas of the pillars of men's work that we believe are really important and what we kind of think around that. So we thought it'd be really good to bring a bit more depth to who we are as people, and we wanted to focus on one person individually, and then have that understanding and awareness of, well, where have we come from, and what lens of view has shaped our lives. And I think it's really important for people to kind of know that this isn't particularly like, we're not sat here saying, oh, look how perfect my life is, or look how terrible it is. And it's also quite a daunting thing to sit here and be asked questions and talk about yourself. So just holding a bit of awareness there, that's definitely something that is probably going through your head, because we're going to start off with talking to Mr. Tindall and find a bit more about who he is as a man, and what what took him from where he was as a young lad growing up to where he is now, and the impact of his life and the things that have happened to him. So I'd really like to start with your foundations. What was your what was growing up like for you? What went on?
what was growing up like for me? I grew up in the countryside. I was I was quite lucky. I got to grow up with sort of land and going out and playing in the fields, shooting bows, air rifles, driving quads, getting up to no good. Just yeah, it's good fun in the great outdoors. So I was very lucky in that respect. Um, I'm conscious that often we can have a negative bias on, you remember the bad times and not necessarily the good times as much. I remember, I think a lot of my childhood when I look back is through the lens of sort of school and growing up in school and the challenges that presented themselves there. And there was a lot of bullying, I would say, and fighting, and the way in which I developed to process that and deal with that was through eating. So I ended up being quite a fat kid.
Hmm.
So that was sort of took me up to, I think, 16, to be honest, was like where a moment for me where I was like, yeah, I'm not happy with who I am as the person. I'm looking back in the
Hmm.
mirror.
Hmm. And where would you say what shaped your early idea of masculinity and what it meant to be a man? What kind of what comes up with you when you think about that?
Um, I was brought up with on martial art movies, right? I
Hmm.
used to, my grandpa, they used to go around his and we used to make things out of. He was just incredibly talented man. He used to make guitars among other things like very realistic warships that are in like museums and stuff like that. So we used to make swords, and he loved pirate films and like the swashbuckling thing. So I was brought up on pirate films and martial art movies, basically.
Strong.
Yeah. So that, Bruce Lee, all the old Jackie Chan movies, and then some fantastic old like Errol Flynn pirate films and Robin Hood and all of that. So very much the hero, the very much the strong, capable man who's resilient, who doesn't let challenge, so, hold him back, basically. The
Yeah.
fighter, the standing up for what's right. A lot of these old martial art movies is about standing against these bullies and learning the martial arts to overcome that. So that was a big thing for me, and that's what I think shaped on how I ought to be, whilst also school's just full of young boys and the sort of the ego, the figuring out what is meant to be a man, and fighting each other and making fun of each other and all of that stuff. And I knew I was quite aware that it was all BS. I think one of my challenges that I had as a kid was that I was quite comfortable speaking out against things, but I didn't use physical violence to protect myself, which in hindsight, I know if I had done that sooner, all my hardships would have ended, really, because I had this knowledge that it was all rubbish and it was all stupid, and everyone sort of, I don't know if school was like this for you, but it's the hardest in the year. He's the hardest in the year, and all of that. And I used to be like this. No, like,
Yeah.
and then a few things in school were sort of like the climax to this sort of bullying phase of my childhood. And I remember it like very vividly. There was like one aspect when I was up on the top field, and there was this huge group of kids. And we're talking like 100 or 200, and I'm like, and I knew they were coming for me. Like I knew that. I knew that. I was like, and I remember saying to the friends I was with, I was like, oh man, need help here? They're like, no, we're not going to help you. I was like, great, cheers. There's just one little speck of a human. And I remember everyone surrounded me and everything. And this kid, I don't know what he was doing, squaring up to me. And everyone wanted us to fight. And as I say, I was very scared that I'd put someone in hospital or worse. And even though I don't think I was training martial arts at this point, but I just knew, like, I don't know, I had this like inner belief of what I could do. I remember just losing my rag, and I went absolutely mad. And I remember shouting at this kid, and he was pushed. All these people who were there supporting him and watching, like, all pushed him all the way to get away from me. And I ended up getting punched by like, don't know how many people, just all the cowards, all the people who are supposed to be the big tough guys, sort of running in and hitting me. And then luckily some of the what I would say the more stoic, more like the real tough guys in like years above were like, stop hitting the guy, like anyone else hits this lad, I'm gonna hit you. So and I'm very thankful he did that. But after that, because I didn't, I wasn't hit to the floor, and basically everyone had given me their best shot from a blind side. Like, everyone was like, suddenly, everyone respected me. Everyone left me alone. Everyone wanted to be my friend. And I was like, this is so messed up. I was like, seriously? And I was like kicking myself, like, why didn't I just like fight sooner?
Yeah.
And I do look back, and I really wish, like, the first time the hardest person, confronting me. I wish I'd just hit him and put him on his ass and be like, cool, I don't actually want to fight here, people. Crack on. And that was sort of the end of my bullied phase.
Right.
I actually left that school soon after that, which was kind of ironic because it would have got a lot better, and it straight away got a lot better. But yeah, so in terms of my childhood, like after that, going to the next school, I just was like, I'm never going to be bullied again, and I wasn't. And it was a lot better school as well, so it wasn't just that, but it was just definitely this attitude of like, I'm not allowing this anymore. So from then on, that's when I started martial arts. That's when I started actually training.
So what would you say that was where it felt the hardest for you? Like, very much that transition of knowing your ability or feeling like you could have just done that sooner and maybe things would have been far easier. Would you say that was like a struggle, or did it progress further? You said you weren't bullied later on and then kind of progressively.
Yeah, so from a physical aspect, and don't get me wrong, I still encounter a lot of violence and fights going on forward. I started drinking, going out in nightclubs. I used to get punched on the weekly on a night out. Um, Again, though, I didn't want to fight back because I didn't want to put people in hospital. I didn't want to then get in trouble with the law and stuff like that. So, but it was from a different attitude. Like I would just laugh at these people, and I figured the best form is very stupid because it's risky allowing people just to punch you because you could get knocked out. But laughing at them, I thought was quite a good solution rather than beating the crap out of them. So that although that sort of that encounter with just with people and in that respect continued, I was also training and competing at the same time. So, and in terms of who I was and understanding who I was as a young man, that confidence I then got from martial arts and from the ability to stick up for myself, I wasn't a victim again.
And would you say martial arts, training to fight, and fighting, would you say that was a turning point for you? Would you say that was where, like, okay, cool, I see something I can throw myself into? It's discipline. I've got to be good. I've got to train. I've got to learn. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like martial arts has given me so much. And we talk about personal development and stuff and initiation and rites of passage. It was my rites of passage, I think. And to a certain extent, that time when, on the top field in school, that was my rites of passage. That was like, how do I face that? How do I face this huge challenge? And I'm not exaggerating when it was like 100 or 200 kids, and like knowing that's coming for you and you don't know what to expect. That was a rites of passage. And then the martial arts equipped me to become the man that I am today. A lot of people have said to me that, I'm quite stoic. I don't like that term particularly, but stoic. Like I have a presence about me, right? I stand tall. I'm confident, and I got that from martial arts. It's not because I think I'm hard. I've done martial arts long enough to know I'm not the hardest person. Like, I know the more you learn about martial arts, the more you learn how bad you are at fighting and how you should just avoid fights. It's really, it's not from an ego perspective. It's from a perspective of like I've been in the challenge, and I've learned discipline. I've shown up. I've challenged myself. And for me, it's been massive in my journey to being a man. And it's why and I've said this to you before, and I have it on the wall of our dojo, of being a good man and being good at being a man. And martial arts was one of the aspects of being that physical protector of myself and others. And that's what I used it, and I've used it I used to work doors growing up as well. So there was that element of using this to support others, to protect others. So it was definitely a massive turning point for me, as well as the sort of the 16th birthday, looking in the mirror, being like, "Oh, I'm not this fat kid. I'm the hero, right?
Mm,
I'm the martial artist in the movies. I'm the pirate. I'm the whatever. I'm that masculine, or that's what I want to be, right? I'm
mm,
clearly not because I'm this fat kid looking back at me in the mirror." So that was when I took a massive interest in health and fitness because I lost like 4.5 stone that following year because I was just
mm.
like, right, apply yourself.
What disciplines were you training in?
So to start with, I did boxing for a little while. I really got into taekwondo. Um, just loved it. I loved kicking. I still love kicking. So I started a little bit of boxing, then taekwondo, and I spent about 3 years like really competing in taekwondo, going around Europe and doing some competitions there. Really loved that. Really like that was yeah, loved
Mm,
that. And then I went to Thailand for the first time in I think 2009, 2010, something like that.
mm,
And that was I was like, yeah, I like this.
mm.
Felt a bit more. It's well, obviously it's just more contact.
Yeah.
And going to uni, I started mixed martial arts there, and that's where I got into mixed martial arts. And the sort of Thai boxing was going and being exposed to that at university.
Mm. And so you've obviously competed a number of times and you fought a few times. Would you say that those were the points where you felt like, and we've spoken about this before, but like stepping into the arena to test yourself, was that like you've spoken about initiation and rites of passage, but do you feel like that was a huge part of you growing as a man? As like, okay, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to face the crucible. I'm going to do whatever I need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
Mm,
martial arts has been such a big part of my personal development journey. It's the very physical aspect of it, and I really don't think you can get much more confrontational than
mm,
stepping inside a cage to fight another man.
mm,
And I would class myself as someone who is actually quite sensitive. Like I do think about things quite deeply, and I wouldn't be your stereotypical fighter. I don't think. I know it.
mm,
In fact, I know. I've always said about being, the prospects of being a soldier. I'd overthink things. I might do things in the moment, but afterwards I'd overthink them. It's
mm.
it's so for me to get out and fight in a cage in front of a bunch of rowdy drunk people is just it's not really it's not like my comfort zone. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way. It's not something I massively enjoy doing.
Mm,
It'd be quite a surreal experience for me
yeah.
going through on that walkout, and I'm like, man, I know I've been training for it for like however long, but what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
I'm literally going to go out and step in a cage in front of all of these drunk people who have got a really warped perception of what it is to be a man and go and entertain them. And I'm not even getting paid for it. Like, what is going on? But I'm not doing it for anything other than I'm facing myself. I always said
Mm,
it's just me in that cage. It's the other person is purely a mirror.
mm,
It's how I approach challenge. It's how I put together everything. How do I think under pressure? Can I think under pressure, or am I just freezing, or am I just going off plan? How do I react when I get punched in the face? All of those things, and so that's really why I did it, was just try and get the best out of myself.
mm. And in that kind of, because that was such a massive part of your life, right? And when I say massive, I mean the importance of it, but also the scale of it in conjunction to everything else. It took up a long part of your life. Where would you say your mental health and development and mindset kind of was in that framing of, well, this is who I am as a man, and this is what I want to be.
Um, yeah, that's a journey that sort of goes parallel with a lot of this stuff, and it's parallel and separate. I think it developed a lot of the physical aspects of what I feel it is to be a man, um,
Mm,
being the protector, being fit, strong, and capable. You know, disciplined.
hmm
but it didn't address and the mindset. Okay, a big aspect of that was mindset. Do you go to training when you don't want to go to training? How do can you turn it on in the cage or not, or do you just does it go to rubbish? But it didn't address the other side of the other half of our pillars, the emotional and spiritual side, as deeply as it could have. There is something very, I think, very spiritual about martial arts as well, but certainly the emotional side it taught less of. Again, yes, regulating emotions and stuff like that, but alongside that martial art and the competing aspect, I've got the rest of who it is to be a man, the rest of my life. I'm still figuring that out. I've got relationships. I've got drinking alcohol, all of this other stuff that I'm still trying to figure out. So the martial arts gave me good discipline and a good outlet and avenue to just keep drawing on and keep turning up to, whilst I was trying to figure out the rest of the stuff. And I think one of the reasons, to be honest, that I never fought professionally, it was because of the sort of the mental health aspect, and the other aspects of my life were as less clean, less obvious than, which created inconsistency and that kind of thing, which eventually led me onto this path, into personal development, and that was outside of martial arts, really.
I was going to say that that's like a nice natural trajectory then into where men's work started for you, and how that manifested into your life. Because having had conversations with you before, obviously alcohol was a big factor, your nature around food was a big factor, and I remember talking to you about you starting men's work and the feeling that it gave you, and I think that, because I'll be honest, when I first met you, like I was like, who is this man? like talking about the archetypes of men, and I was like, and then hearing that you're a fighter, I was like, is he like some sort of warrior monk? Like what's going on? Like like not conflicted, but like how do I piece together who he is as a person? And obviously we vibed and we connected, and here we are today. But for me, the thing I am most interested in is, yes, fighting, and that's great, but then the rise of men's work to be so stratospheric, for it to be so like such a thing in your life. I want to understand more about where that came from and how that affected you.
Yeah, the warrior monk. It's it's it has been a journey, right? And I think that's why I'm so passionate about the work we do in Make Ready, but also passionate about leaning into the discomfort of doing a podcast, of showing up online, um, because there's a battle there of me showing up. So I'm like, on the one hand, I'm like, who am I to do any of this stuff? But on the other hand, it's I think I have a well rounded perspective of these different areas, and ultimately a story to tell that may or may not resonate with someone. But if it helps a few men, then it's all worth it. I think my sort of journey into personal development, into men's work, into the more emotional, spiritual side of personal development, I think it certainly came off the back of a period of I think depression, where I was probably drinking too much at the time. I don't know if it was back in 2016. Might have been earlier than that, actually. But I got the number of a guy, and someone suggested, hey, why don't you talk to this guy? I ended up calling him, going and speaking to him. His name's Terry. Incredible man. Like, just, and I went and spoke to him. for a few hours, and that was it. It was kind of fortnightly for that for years. So I worked with him for about 4 years, I think, and he became a real mentor of mine. And he was a recovered addict of. I think he had ticked all the boxes of all the different AA and NA and all the stuff. And it's just an incredible man who had so much wisdom and just helped shape the way, or reshape the way I viewed life and view life. And there were plenty of times that he suggested, is alcohol a problem? Alcohol might be a problem here. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not a problem for me. You're just, no. But I worked with him for about 4 years, and I eventually gave up alcohol, which was a massive turning point. But off the back of working with him, I ended up on a Buddhist retreat down in Devon, incredible place there, and that was just really, really powerful. I think it was a space where I spend most of my time either sort of working. I think I was a personal trainer at a time. I was a personal trainer, then I went into property development. So I was hanging around with just people in the gym and stuff like that, or I was in the MMA gym fighting. So and then to go into a Buddhist retreat aspect, where it was the first time, although I'd been working with Terry for a while and speaking to him honestly, and sort of exercising that muscle of being actually talking about stuff instead of bottling it up. It's the first time we were encouraged to share that in a group setting, like a circle, like a sharing circle. And man, it was powerful. It was like absolutely, like I felt like I could take off the mask of having to be, a martial artist, a fighter, whatever, or a man who's got his stuff together. And I was able to, speak honestly and openly. And I was like, and coming away from that, I was just hit with this wave of sort of grief and sadness. And it was, I think, a realization that I don't have this in the rest of my life. And that was sort of began the seed of this work. Wanting to set up a group, and especially a men's group, because of that. Men don't have these spaces. Not spaces we can actually talk about how things are going. It's like, yeah, I'm fine. Crack on. Don't want to complain here. And it's, which, as we say, can be really helpful. We need to be able to show up and do what our duties are as men, but we also need spaces to talk and actually just hear what other men are going through, because then you suddenly feel like it's not just you're not uniquely flawed, or you're not uniquely facing these challenges. You sit in enough circles or share with enough men honestly, you're like, we're all struggling. We've all got these challenges, not just me. And straight away I feel lighter, and that fills me with hope that I can carry on. So I think off the back of that period of ultimately depression, using alcohol, bottling things up, working with someone for a period of time, got me onto this path of personal development, of reading, of listening to different things, studying Buddhist philosophy, and addressing my relationship with alcohol was massive. That was 7 years ago. I gave that up, knocked that on the head, and that was definitely one of those points when I can look back on my journey and be like, that was one of the most powerful decisions I've ever made.
You said a couple of things there that I think are really quite interesting, and something I want to kind of get your solid one-liner. What's the response to this? Is that you so often hear people saying, men need to be feel safe to share their feelings. They need to talk about whether they're feeling upset or they want to cry or whatever. Like, I really want to. What's one thing men need to hear that they're not being told? What's that for you? What's that big? This is the thing.
Oh, you can't do it alone. Like, I think that's it. Like, you can't do it alone because you could go into saying you have to be vulnerable and have to get used to sharing. You have to be able to cry. I'm not convinced by all of that stuff. I do believe in you need to, you should be able to share and be honest. Absolutely, 100%. But does that honesty look like you're crying and hugging each other and all of that stuff? No, it's not the same for all men. I really don't believe that as a one size fits all. But I know for certain you should not be doing it alone, and you can't do it alone. We're not engineered for that.
That's really interesting to hear you say that, because the my connotation when it comes to something about men's work and kind of men's mental health or whatever it may be, and however we want to frame it, is that there is an element of men have a duty and have a desire to work hard, to provide, to do the things, to be the masculine man. They have a desire. Like, it's why the traditional methods don't often work. Of, oh, sit down and, cry to your part. Like, great, awesome. But there also needs to be this actually, no, we need to pull up our sleeves. We go outside and go plant those trees because it needs to be done. But there's 400 of them and you've got 2 hours and you're like, don't really have the time. So to hear you say you can't do it alone, that's the big dynamic shift in my head, is that, and this isn't about me today, but opening myself up to actually there is a world out there of men who will feel very similar things or on their own different path. Do it with them and you'll be far stronger.
Yeah.
So that again kind of leads me really nicely into where you are now then in your life. I'd love to hear like a snapshot of, okay, who is Daniel now? What does he do? And what standards do you live by today that are definitely, one, things you're working on, but two, their bedrock there is this.
So I'm now a dad. I now have 2 kids. It's been a game changer, a big shift. I'm not training martial arts at the moment, which I feel is a hole in my life. I hit the bag every now and again, but the physical aspect is still there. I'm still training, as we know. We've got we're doing our thing in Inmate Ready, and we're excited about that. Um, I'm not training martial arts purely just because of the time restraints at the moment, but the dojo is there, and that's happening, and hitting the bag's happening. So the physical aspect's still there. I'm probably consistently the sort of in the best shape I've ever been, despite not training martial arts at the moment, which is big for me because I've always used that as an anchor for goal setting. Whereas actually now the anchor for my physical pillar is longevity. It's being the father I need to be and modeling healthy behavior. It's being disciplined, and it's just valuing my body, and working at that relationship with food. As I said, alcohol's gone, and all of that stuff. So I think for me now, it's about really becoming the man on a daily basis that I aspire to be, and lead by example, and not doing the yo-yoing that I've done previously, especially being a dad, being a father. I've got a family who I want to lead, I want to protect, I want to provide for, and I've got to be disciplined for that. And I can't do it alone. So I have the brotherhood, I have the men around me, I have coaches, I have people I speak to. I think that was a big pivotal moment, is that step of speaking to someone to now understanding the value of mentors, of coaches, and of community. Like, we're supposed to be living in villages, not in real like communities, not just we can do it on our own. So for me, sort of life's about, yeah, trying to be as just building on a daily basis the man I want to be, and helping others do the same, and trying to use all these years that I've had of figuring it out, and um, trying to help other men and have impact in other men's lives, and trying to help them learn from hopefully the wisdom I've learned from my own path and experience, and from a place of really resonating and understanding. I've been very obese. I can relate to that. So when I'm speaking to someone who's obese and, feeling lethargic and stuff, and all that, yeah, I can support, I can share, I can help, and especially you can help more with that. But I can help from an emotional perspective, and that can be really powerful, right? I'm not saying I know everything, but just being a couple of steps ahead in certain areas, you know, can really help. So I think that's, for me, my focus is on building something that can support other men, because I know how important it was. I also know all the barriers that stop me from getting into this work, getting into asking for help, putting my hand up and saying, "I'm like, guys, I really need some support here," and then actually really understanding that we're all we're all going through similar stuff, or have been through similar stuff, or will go through similar stuff. We're not uniquely flawed. We're all flawed, but we're not uniquely so.
Yeah.
And if I can just support other men along the journey, build the community that I wish I had, I say as a young man, I wish I had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you know, especially being a dad now, because I know
Yeah.
this journey and the challenges I have being a dad now are also going to serve. So it's using like the rich life experience that I've had to support other men. Um, something that's very huge and paramount in my life at the moment. Well, not at the moment now. Is my faith, right? And I'm that is such a like a foundation, and it's almost like the martial arts was. It's like the faith is, becoming that real pillar in my life, that real um, process of learning, um, and also this for me, it's funny how much correlation to the martial arts. It's like as soon as you start, the more I learn about this thing, the
Yeah.
more I realize I don't know. Uh, as well as that confrontation, it was like, great, I've got this. This is how I should be. There's a guide of how we should be as men here. Guys, pick up the Bible, you might learn something. There's a guide here, but also it's like, oh man, I'm like faced with the arena on a daily basis, and I come up short every single day, and that can get quite frustrating. But that's part of the challenge. It then becomes a spiritual battle rather than the physical battle in the cage. It's like, no, I'm in life now.
Yeah. I think I was wondering if you were going to talk about faith as part of the bedrock of who you are, and I think firsthand I can see how powerful that has been for you and how much it guides who you are. And obviously, I won't go into too much detail of personal details, but obviously you're a father now, you've got children. How that all looks is very, like, I know the burden you carry to be the man that you're trying to become, and it leads me really kind of actually quite nicely into this final closing point, because people will view this question as a question of its own, right? Oh, it's just a throwaway question, but I actually think it follows to every man that listens who are on different stages of their journey. If you were sat down and you were having a coffee with your 21-year-old self, what would you say to him?
Oh man, my 21-year-old self. I would tell him so much, man. Like, it's interesting reflecting back to where I was in life back then. So yeah, lost, very lost. Saying that, I'd probably look back on my 29-year-old self, my 30-year-old self, and I'd say it's pretty lost too. And I'm sure in 5 years' time I'll be. But if I, yeah, my 21-year-old self, step away from the alcohol. You don't need that. That is a problem in my life, absolutely. Which I would have probably agreed with at the time as well, because I was quite hit and miss then with alcohol. Like, I was quite dedicated to the martial arts, so I wasn't a massive drinker. I would say go find the community. I just don't know if it was there at the time, but my encouragement would be to speak honestly and go find those people. Uh, yeah, get to church, man,
Yeah.
and like you don't have to have everything figured out. Like you don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to have the foundation strong.
And final point, final question for today's podcast in a deep dive into the life of Daniel Tindall. One message for the men listening to this.
No one's got it figured out, guys. Like, don't put anyone on a pedestal. Anyone on Instagram, anyone who you're looking at thinking, oh, they've got it together. They haven't. Everyone's trying to figure it out. Everyone's flawed. And you're not uniquely flawed. So stop comparing yourself to other men. Get out, sit amongst good men, and you'll find out exactly what other men are going through. And just do your best to show up on a daily basis to be the man you want to be, because it's not too late. There's no point comparing yourself to others and making yourself feel rubbish. They're all flawed. And you have the power to do something about yours. So get on it.
Well,
Oh, and Johnny's really prepared. Of course.
thank you so much for that, Daniel. We'll close out the podcast there. Really powerful one today, and I hope you've all enjoyed listening to this and getting a bit of a deeper insight into who Daniel is as a man and the things that drive him and the journey he's been on in his life. Because I can tell you firsthand, that is the tip of the iceberg of his life. There is so much more to it, but quite frankly, we don't have 4 hours. So, but
Come and join us for the fire.
come and join us at the fire, and we'll tell you all about it. Daniel, I'll let you close out the podcast for today.
Yeah, dude, thank you, man. I just hope it's helpful to someone. And at the very least, like what you get with me and Adam is we're very honest, and we don't claim to have all our stuff together. We're two men who have a lot of experience to share and a lot of passion, and we genuinely care about having a positive impact on other men's lives. So hopefully a bit of my story resonated, entertained, helped in some way. Adam, thank you so much for your questions, dude. I really, really appreciate it. It didn't feel too much like an interrogation. So thank you. And guys, like, if you enjoyed that, stay tuned, share it with a friend, and yeah, we'll see you next time.